Ladies and gentlemen, is the SmackDown Women's Division on life support after a ridiculously bad and botch-filled ending to the Triple Threat title match on Friday night? And how many times can one man return in 1 year? This is the Golden Shovel Wrestling Podcast, your weekly roundup of all things WWE storytelling. Let's get right in there. Guys, we're back, three-man booth. Busy weekend to talk about after what was a rather lacklustre WrestlePalooza the week before. We are not going to waste any time. Get both the guys here, Daz and Ross. We're straight into Friday night. Daz, SmackDown correspondent. Paul Heyman opens SmackDown with the traditional 20-minute Raw opening. Do we actually have time for that on a Friday night? And did it add anything to the show?
No and no. I'm really... We've had one great opening to SmackDown in the last, what feels like, century. And it was John Cena and Sami Zayn, and then we had a 40-minute match almost afterwards. And yes, it took up half the show, so you can't do it every week. Just open with some fucking wrestling, man. Like, Raw is like the TV show. Raw is like your soap opera. Just let SmackDown fucking be for wrestling. Do you know what I mean? I'm sick of it.
I mean, there's literally no harm in having the referee in the ring or ready to go, and Michael Cole welcomes everybody, your pyro or whoever's commentating the Friday night, because he seems to be jumping about. The pyro opens the show and then you hear music, and within 3 minutes you've got two guys in the ring or two girls in the ring and have at it for 10-15 minutes. It's the right time to showcase somebody. Ross, I know you did manage to get ahead of the curve with SmackDown this week and watch it pretty early, but we're in a situation here where does Rhodes and Rollins really need that type of build-up? Everybody knows about the rivalry when Rhodes returned, and they also know that this match is happening because they're both champions at the same time. That's kind of all it needs, is it not?
It probably is all it needs. I will say, though, I've actually kind of enjoyed it. I think between the bit on SmackDown and the bit last night on Raw, it's some of the better stuff that Rollins has done recently. I like it. The Raw, which I'd imagine we'll get to, leaves some question marks about what lens is he going to go to try and get this victory over them. I kind of dig it. And it's obviously we've had our concerns on here about Cody Rhodes' character, but it seems that the crowds over there in particular still absolutely love him, because that opening couple of beats of his chin place still goes nuts. So no, it maybe doesn't need it, but it's working, so I guess that's okay.
I think the big issue for me, not the big issue, but an issue for me in this situation is it just once again highlights that this stable that appeared after Mania isn't needed. Braun and Bronson with Paul Heyman would have been fine, or a manager, and Seth Rollins just being Seth Rollins, because that's kind of, you kind of alluded to it there in what you said, that it's arguably Rollins' best work for a while, and he's not needed his manager or the rest of his team or anyone else. And certainly, as you say, there are some questions coming out of the Monday night situation, because based on what happened at WrestlePalooza, the AJ Lee, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, CM Punk story isn't finished, but it's clearly been parked for at least the next month.
It seems like that.
No, obviously,
which
I predicted
is fine.
that as a Mania match, so it needs to get parked, but it's just strange to me.
I think it would make more sense if they actually had AJ Lee wrestling someone. I think that she really could use a little bit of shaking off the ring rust. I don't know if necessarily sunsetting her for a bit is the right move, but the story needs it, so it's like maybe you're slightly screwed either way. I don't know.
If only there was a thing called house shows still in the go in America where they could have a work.
That would help a lot.
This might be a controversial statement for the first actual match of the night, but with the Profits versus Melody Miz, and I'll be honest and say that I had SmackDown on the background for most of the weekend catch-up, apart from the other two matches I want to talk about. is this the point of no return for both of these teams? Do we need to see Montez Ford break off, and do we need to see Melo break off? Because I feel like the two guys could do something on their own, but I feel like they've run their course in these teams. I mean, Melo Don't Miz was put there to probably elevate Melo, that's fine, but the Profits, it just feels as though they either really love them or you get bored of them, and they've struggled to keep momentum. But I don't think that's their fault. It is a stacked division on SmackDown at the moment.
It is time for both teams to split up. I would prefer an earlier split for the Profits than I would for Melo and Miz. I actually think Melo and Miz are doing probably Melo's best stuff since he came up, because he's not really had a lot of TV time. So I think that's the right team together to elevate Melo in the end, because the Miz can put anybody over. The issue we've got with the Profits is that I don't think they're ever going to break them up as much as I do think Tez will still, in my opinion, win the US title. I would like him to be the one to win the US title from Sami Zayn. I just don't think they'll ever pull the trigger, because if they take Tez out, they will future endeavour Doc, because they have nothing for Doc. And it's really reminiscent of kind of End Zone Cass, where they ran the breakup storyline and only one could really run out of those two. And it was a flip, it was the big guy. The wee guy gets sent to the Cruiserweight division, basically, and get written off proper TV. So I don't think they're going to pull the trigger. They get enough online hate for their lack of black champions, black superstars on TV. I think breaking up arguably the best black tag team that they have is a huge risk for them in the public eyes, and that because that's what the IWC is now. It is just a cauldron of pointing out everything that's wrong with the E. So I don't think they'll break them up personally, but I think they should, because Tez is a bona fide superstar.
I mean, in the interest of pointing out everything that's wrong with the E at the moment, they are one of the teams or the group of people who would really benefit from some sort of draft, shake-up, a realigning of the divisions. Because they're not buried, they've been part of some epic moments and epic matches, and that TLC match at SummerSlam, where you and I reaction to some of the spots on TikTok is phenomenal.
It's easy to forget they were recently world tag team, like the tag team champions. It's easy to forget that, but they did have a fairly decent reign. But then, were we actually watching it for the profits, or were we watching it just because of how stacked that division is? Like,
I mean, you're allowed to be part of a stacked division, you know, and they were certainly a part of that, and not just a footnote. They were as good as it gets. My only my concern is that Tez has arguably been pegged as the guy that's going to come for that team, and have we missed the chance for him to go singles? Because like 3 years ago we probably said Tez will be the guy that eventually breaks off and does something big. 2 years ago we said it. Last year we said it. Now we're saying it again. It's like, maybe you're right, and it won't happen. But we've got one really good, interesting match to talk about here, and one other match to talk about, is what I want to say, for SmackDown. And I'm kind of flying through this quickly because I know that these are the two matches we're going to talk about. Now, on Thursday night, I think we were sitting in Discord. We were talking about the fact that Zayn, well, after saying last week, because we do know that Triple H does listen to the pod, that it'd be nice, as you were saying explicitly, nice to have a couple of surprises for the US Open. There was a surprise announced on the Thursday night, which was interesting. Now,
I'm not really sure it was a surprise, though.
I know, because we kind of knew who it was going to be.
No, we knew it. If you watched Homecoming, you knew who it was going to be, because Sammy bigged him up in his backstage promo on Homecoming. So it was, but don't get me wrong, it was nice to have Sammy in the ring, and the air of
the music hits.
Like, who is it? Yeah, but yeah, we all really knew who it was going to be, but it was better than a backstage segment opening the show with him shaking hands with whoever he's wrestling. Yeah, definitely.
As the resident NXT correspondent, Roscoe, talk us through Javon Evans a little bit, because he when I first saw him, I thought, okay, quite raw, but an absolute athlete. But my God, does the crowd pop for him, and does he put on a show?
Yeah, that is where Javon Evans is at right now. You know, like the guy has this unbelievable standing leap that I don't think I've seen too many people have that kind of level of hops outside of the NBA. In all complete seriousness, like the guy is supremely athletic. He's good at what he does in the ring as well. Seems to know how to work a match. Seems to be able to do the slightly more dangerous moves safely because, well, keeps on doing it and hasn't hurt himself yet. Probably the only thing that lets him down is a little bit of his promos, but that's why he's in NXT. You know, that's the point of the brand. I think it is not a reach to say that if you were to iron that out, he could be up there as one of the top guys in like 4 or 5 years' time. Like as in the top of the top. Because he is the character. The character he's got isn't particularly too in depth. It's just the guy knows how to work a match and work a crowd. And sometimes that's all you need. And the E is to be able to do that consistently week in, week out, and people will love you for it. One to watch, for sure. And that was a good match between him and Sami Zayn. I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was great.
It's the type of match that they, throughout this US Open Challenge, can probably get some people on side with Sami Zayn as the world champion.
100%. Like I am now. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this now.
I know we're quite critical of him, but I think we all agree and we all stand by it. Put people in good wrestling matches, let them go over. He's wrestling good matches. The one thing I think is I still think this is his level, but I can see it in the ring. At least can he carry it outside the ring because it is different. I'm less sure, but it's almost certainly too early for someone like Javon Evans to come back round and possibly be the guy to end this US Open Championship hunt, but he really can't be too far away from a main roster mid-card title. You would think with the trajectory he's on.
It's tricky.
A year or two, maybe.
It's tricky, right? And I've watched him a couple of times. I don't watch NXT all the time. I watched No Mercy, and he opened the show with Josh Briggs, and that too was a really good match. It's the first time I've watched anything really of Josh Briggs, and I was quite impressed. I'm happy about that because I have a Josh Briggs refractor card, and I had no idea what the guy was all about. But no, he is quite good. And I do think that he's got the ability to go and be a mid-card champion. I 100% believe it. And I'm not writing the guy off for being potentially world champion or at the top level or anything like that, because it's far too early for me to say that he definitely wouldn't be able to do that. I just think that if you cast your mind back, who's the last person with that level of athleticism to be top of the bill? Like, people love to watch it, but I'm not sure people believe in it as a main event guy. I think.
I mean, in terms of athleticism, the obvious, well, to me, the obvious comparison is to like a Shelton Benjamin, who's a guy who's always been talked about as could have been a world champion, but didn't have the out of ring stuff.
I think the
bring
only
it together
one,
as a package.
I think the only one that I can think of, and I'm maybe missing somebody. The only one's probably Rey Mysterio. Is probably the only one who's like real flexibility and that kind of hang time in the air, and even if that's different because he's a luchador. Luchadors are like, different. So it's like, I'm not saying the guy couldn't be like a really, really top level talent in the business, because he definitely is. He's really similar to Montez Ford, and I think that's why Tez probably won't get a world title, but he definitely should be at the top of the mid card. 100%. I'm 100% with you.
Because there's a real. I mean, I need to be careful. I'm going to be careful what I say here, because I could get accused at least of pigeonholing these people, but
these people,
and that's what I'm trying to be careful what I say here. So you've got somebody like Mel who moved up to the main roster and has the ability between the three ropes, the four corners, to deliver week in, week out. We've already said that putting them with somebody like Miz has been great for him because it's shown on our side, but after the Andrade series of matches, we were all calling for him to push towards the US title. Didn't happen. We're saying now is still an opportunity for him, but can he carry a feud like that, a championship and feuds outside of the ring. Trick Williams didn't get the call up, arguably benefited, probably in a better position than Melo, because they were obviously tag team partners for a while. He benefited from staying in NXT, however, he hit a ceiling, did the TNA thing, blah, 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 will probably drop that title soon. But again, so nowhere really to go. Obafemi is different to these guys, because these are not cruiserweights, but they're smaller wrestlers. They show their athleticism, they're high flyers. Obafemi's a powerhouse who we're going to talk about in a few minutes' time, because that's why we've cleared a good bit of schedule to see where this could go. Javon Evans is in that batch with Melo and Trick Williams to me. I'm not saying he's the same type of wrestler, but he's athletic. Not saying he's missing the mic and promo skills, but it's not a strength.
Whereas probably someone like Trick has that as a strength.
Yeah.
Trick's good on the mic.
But still has a ceiling in terms of they've got to the top of NXT. There's been no clear path to the main roster. We talk about it most weeks, but there is an issue there in the WWE with that logjam, and I don't know how we solve it.
There's a really easy way to solve it, I think. Shake it up and get SmackDown back to 3 hours, and all of a sudden, you have a lot more time to go and do stuff. Really easy.
It's the one thing that's missing for SmackDown. We praised it for the first half of the run of this podcast, where because it was 3 hours every week, there was almost always at least one NXT superstar just being showcased, and it was like that was a really good match. It was nice because, as Dad says, we don't. Well, I know you did for a while, Ross. We don't watch NXT every week. I probably catch 1 out of 3 if I'm honest. Every other in a good week. But there were certain people I was watching a Friday night, and then I'd see somebody else Friday night, and it would turn out the two of them would wrestle each other 2 weeks later. Well, I might as well watch the show because I watched Jordan Grace, and then I watched Blake Monroe, and then obviously I want to watch that match, and vice versa. So I do think that's one thing that would, if you were asking me how would I fix SmackDown, I'm with you, go back to 3 hours, but not for the sake of having an extra half an hour of talking. There should be a showcase, and
really only 40 minutes after ad breaks, and that's the tricky part, because if you put the third hour back in, that's why they removed it, because it was really only an extra 35-40 minutes of TV, and what they were finding is they didn't actually have the time to showcase anybody additional, because there's another promo in there or a backstage segment of some such. But I just think it's easier to push. Like, I don't disagree. You should go to 3 hours. I just think that they would need to restructure the way they do the show. And we know Triple H listens to this podcast, so get rid of the fucking half hour at the beginning of SmackDown and punt it to the end. Have a 10-minute promo, then have a 20-minute main event, and just fucking do that. Because I'd much rather watch the first hour of the show, have Sami Zayn's US Open Challenge where he wrestles an NXT talent, and then have some form of tag match or women's tag team title match or women's mid-card match or whatever, and then a promo in the middle of the show. I'd much rather that was your first hour than what we get served up right now. I think the path is much clearer for female superstars right now to come out of NXT than it is for the male superstars right now, because there is such a packed mid-division across both cards, although we don't necessarily display it every week. I think that Dom's grip on the IC title is holding a few back in NXT, because you move them up, but you're not ready to take that strap off a Dom. And Dom's not the kind of guy that we always say put them in good wrestling matches and you don't need to win, when in actual fact the way Dom is winning, he needs to be wrestling guys like Rusev, right? He needs to be building his profile to become that champion, where guys like Javon can come in, they'll have a 20-minute wrestling match, Dom will roll him up with the tights
100%.
and he looks great, but he needs to be beating guys like Rusev and stuff like that to build that profile. So it's probably holding a couple of the guys back.
Aye, and difference as well with Dom is the mic work in the character is such a big part of his overall package at the moment as a heel, that he does need the promo and the match and has to win it in a certain way, as you said. For like other guys who don't have the mic skills, they can just have a good match and that's enough for them.
Yeah.
It is different. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it is just different. And with that, we're going to jump next into the women's. So we're going to get women's triple threat Botchamania. Now, the actual match itself was reasonable. I'm going to just quickly summarise the ending, because that's where the botch was, and then throw it to yourself, Daz, to give us a kind of your thoughts and what we think it means for us. Well, we've talked about this division every week for months now, but it looks as though what happens is obviously Jade gets busted open, right, and it happens. Accidents happen, that's fine. It looks like someday, probably Tiff misses her cue to break the pin up, which Nia, at that point as a professional, goes, I better kick out of this. Saves the match, that's fine, she kicks out. It looks as though the plan would have been for Tiffy to take Jade out and then steal the pin, so Jade does the putting away of Nia. Now, the issue there is the referee reads the situation and quite correctly, in my opinion, says, well, I can only count 2 because Nia's just kicked out, so she's not going to kick out and immediately stay down for 3 after another 5 or 6 seconds have passed. So she does that, but Nia doesn't kick out because it appears that was supposed to be the finish. Now, that Nia then goes from being a professional to being unprofessional. Now, in my opinion, Tiffy should have broke the pin up, hit the PME because she was in the corner anyway, and then that could have been the end of the match. I think you all would have seen the Chris Van Vliet interview with Charles Robinson kicking about this week, where he says, look, it's easy to turn around and say the referee should just count for 3 every time and it's up to the wrestlers, but the fact is, if you know that's not the finish, you don't count to 3, count the finish. So the way I looked at it, people are blaming the referee, but when you actually break it down, the referee is right. In the realms of kayfabe, if that referee counts 3, that looks arguably worse than what happened, because at that point it's a botch that actually ends a championship match. At least they had a chance to fix it. I don't know how you saw it, that is, but it doesn't bode well. I think Tiffy's in bother, to be honest with you, as a champion. I think it just is another bad title match that she's had as champion.
I disagree. I think Tiffy comes out of this looking best out of the 3. I don't think Tiffy's to blame for the botch. In fact, see, to be honest, there's one person to blame for the botch, and it's Nia Jax. Right? And the reason being, Nia also knows that's not the finish. So if the ref knows it's not the finish, Nia knows it's not the finish. So it's Nia's responsibility to get the shoulder up for that pin. My issue with the ending to the match isn't with Tiff. It's just the way in which they then booked the finish. They just got up and then finished the match anyway. Just wrestle another minute and a half. Just have another wee sequence in the ring. See it out for another minute and a half, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, and then have the finish. She does the right thing. She's on time to break up. The ref would have been much easier to not count the 3 because the time between the kick out and the drop kick are so minuscule that nobody would have really noticed. But the fucking gap between the 2 count and Nia throwing that shoulder up is massive. And I don't think it's Tiffy's fault. I think it's just a product of the women's division in SmackDown, is that they just are not good enough. Tiffy is a top talent. She's wrestling bang average wrestlers, and it doesn't matter how good you are. If somebody's going to lie there and take the pin and not put the shoulder up, you can't break the pin. Because, in my opinion, if Tiff broke the pin, it would be a hell of a lot worse. In my opinion on Tiff, if she gets up voluntarily and breaks the pin, in that instance, the ref should have counted 3. In my opinion, it's much easier to call an audible backstage than it is to. It's much easier to end it like that and shock the crowd than it is to be like this, and then like everybody looking at the ref, and then like 4 seconds later, Nia goes, "Oh yeah, nah, pish, I'm sick of it." Freshen up the division, put people in that can wrestle. I don't care if you don't believe they can be world champions. Fucking put Chelsea Green into wrestle instead of Nia Jax, who is useless, and Jade Cargill, who's fucking worse than that. Who's so much worse than that. That should be the end of Jade's main event run, in my opinion, for a while.
Should be the end of Jade's main event run 3 months ago.
But Nia only is in the main event run because she's still the big superstar. She's like your powerhouse. We need to freshen it up. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
I'm not necessarily blaming Tiff, because I am a huge fan of Tiffany Stratton. I think she's been hung out to dry a little bit in that division, because it's a very, very poor division for you to be a first-time world champion in, because there's literally no one. She's pinned both these women clean multiple times. They should have been nowhere near a title match. And and I do have a massive collection of Tiff cards there because I'm banking on her becoming an absolute superstar and these things going to the moon. But I'm not blaming her. I think I was saying that from the perspective of maybe it's an historic thing with Vince, but you would just, as a champion, you would just get the blame and you'd have the title pulled off you at some point. I want to see her drop the title only because I want to see her just step back, reform, but I want it to be like a good feud, not just take the title off her. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to be again something that does something for her. It has to be a Rhea Ripley, a Becky Lynch, or Charlotte Flair. It's that type of star that takes it from her that allows her to stay hot. I totally agree with you. I think the ref's called an audible, and I think the ref's got it right, but it's looked awkward. I think the ref's got it right after the first pin. I'm with you. I think she should just count for the 3 because it's like, this is ridiculous. I think she's called the right audible in the second pin. I mean, well, it makes no sense for Nia to stay down after she's kicked out. Nia's fucked it. Like, I'm with you on that one. But it's just so messy. And the thing is it was a reasonable match, but we're now sitting here. That's all everybody's talked about all weekend is how bad that was, and it's just another division that needs a bit of a shake-up. There is plenty of people waiting in the wings.
The issue we've got is that SmackDown's women's division doesn't have a challenger, right? There's nobody in that division because she's just beat the two of them in a triple threat to take that title off her. She now needs to beat Stephanie Vicaire, otherwise that title's worthless. Because if she doesn't beat Stephanie Vicaire at Crown Jewel, where do you take her title run next? She still has to be a viable champion. The loss won't hurt Steph because it's not a title defence. It won't hurt her. But Tiffy's really teetering with that title. And the issue you've got is if they do have to pull it off Tiff, there's nobody to take it. And that's a real concern.
They have backed themselves in a corner here because you've got Rollins versus Rhodes on the other side. Now, we're going to get to this prediction show over the next couple of weeks and we'll start talking more and more towards it now. We all probably want the same person to win that match, but maybe for the wrong reasons. But Rollins and Rhodes doesn't really matter who wins, right? The two guys, the other two top guys in the company, right? They either one can get away with it. Rhodes really needs to lose a match at some point. That's all I'm going to say. But Steph just became champion. She's probably going to have her first match in this since Crown Jewel, first singles match anyway. As Daz is rightly saying, this Tiff run's flaming out pretty quickly because of the weak division.
Mm-hmm.
It won't hurt Steph, but it also doesn't look great. It will hurt Tiff and will look really bad if she loses.
I would agree.
They've got a really tight spot there.
And that's what I was trying to put together, is that if you're going to put her up against a genuine world champion talent, if you have her lose in that match, you're not really booking her very well at all because she's wrestling mid-card wrestlers right now on her own show. There's only one other main event talent that doesn't have a program, because obviously Charlotte and Alexa are on that show. But Chelsea Green's the only other one available. And see if she wrestled Chelsea Green for 20 minutes and Chelsea rolled her up and took the title, that's a much better booking than having her lose to Stephanie Vicaire and then trying to find a way to have her drop the title, in my opinion.
Maybe Chelsea Green gets involved in a distraction. I don't know. I'm with you. I think Chelsea Green's an opportunity to tell a good story. Charlotte and Alexa, whatever's going on there injury-wise and stuff, isn't going to be split up anytime soon.
It's weird.
It's weird because
that's really it's odd because they're constantly on TV.
Charlotte's definitely injured, but they're always on telly. The titles are nowhere. It's extremely, extremely odd. Unless it's as simple as they thought it was a short-term injury and turns out it's slightly worse than we thought.
I think it could be anything to do with the fact the other brand have announced women's tag team titles. And we're putting a plan together to combat whatever tournament they throw together for that, maybe.
It's possible.
Potentially.
You've got Jordan Grace, who was announced for SmackDown 6 months ago, who had an absolute barnstorming of a match at the weekend as well. I know.
Banger. Absolute banger of a match.
I didn't even get a chance to talk about it, but she's a world champion waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm. Paid them up.
The only other superstar that's sitting there has been buried beyond belief, and that is Julia, because
she's got a title, man.
She's got a title,
but if that's your run as US champ, you cannot be world champion.
Exactly, 100%. That's what I'm saying,
and that's not her fault. That's not her fault.
I said months ago I was expecting Rhea Ripley to go to SmackDown for Crown Jewel. Obviously, that's not happening, and I'm much happier with the match that is happening. But It needs that type. Like I think if Rhea Ripley was to go to SmackDown with the title, you would get your usual Rhea Hogan, this Rhea Hogan, that. But actually, it does need that
It
level
would
of
rescue the
person
division 100%.
to rescue.
But the issue you then is if you put the title on Rhea Ripley, you've got to move somebody else to take it back after. I think the next women's champion will be Bianca Belair. I think they're just biding their time to get Bianca back on TV full time and have her take that title off Tiffy. But fuck me, we're running out of time.
We're dangerously close to that being another title that stays where it is until WrestleMania, and that doesn't feel quite right.
I did call that. I did say that Tiffy will hold the title to Mania, just because there's nobody to take it off her.
I was just banking on them finding someone off the street. I don't care.
It depends when they plan to break up Alexa and Charlotte, because it'd be great to see Alexa come out of that feud and go for the world title, but we'll see.
I think the women's is the most interesting Rumble this year.
Oh,
it can go anywhere as well.
That's
good. Aye. So moving past SmackDown, which was a disappointing ending for that perspective, and we're at the half-hour mark, so we're going to get a good 5 to 10 minutes on this story. The Oba versus Ricky Saints match was incredible in terms of match telling a story. It was brilliant, and what it did do for Oba, like. It did that much for Oba Femi that see if he just didn't do anything on telly for like 3 months and turned up in the Rumble, people would still go fucking nuts. Like they've done a good job here of like taking title off him, making him look strong. We're all excited for what's coming next. He's probably in the frame for the US Open title. That's not where I would go.
No, because he can't win it.
He probably can't.
It's too early to win it.
It's too early. Yeah,
but you also can't have Sammy beat him. But
no, but. Ross, we talked about this in Discord the other day, and I just want your opinion on this. It is about time that WWE decided, is the DDT a finisher or not? Because I know they used 4, and I think planting a guy head first on the mat should be a finisher, but there's people using them as signature moves, and then I just don't think if you're going to have people kick out or not be pinned after the DDTs week in, week out, you can't have Oba Femi go down to DDT. I know technically it was 4, but
I think that's the logic you can get away with, though, is but it was 4 of them. Like I think that works. All right, you're right. I think if there was no other moment in the match and you just hit somebody one, then you'd be like, what the fuck? They've just killed him. But I think it worked. The match worked. It was like from start to finish, man. They had the crowd eating at the palm of their hands, because if you go back and watch it, the crowd the crowd's not like absolutely on fire as the match starts. The crowd's got that sort of anticipation of, right, we're ready for this. Tell us the story. Which, I mean, you need that automatically, right? You need the buy-in, but then you just go and have an absolute banger. I cannot wait to see what he does, man. Ricky Saints is going to be interesting. We'll probably talk about him in the weeks and months to come to see how his reign goes and if he'll end up circling back. He's maybe one that maybe post-Mania you maybe have to have a conversation about how his reign goes, but Oba's going to be fascinating. I think he might still be involved in this invasion angle. I got a feeling just because he's been fairly important to that throughout it. It's then how do you bring him out into the main roster, when and who against? I think that's a really, really good question to ask, because there's about 3 different ways you can do it, and I think he's going to be great. If they let him just be the same character, the man will have a belt at some point, I think.
Dazzaro, you've also got the same strong opinions on the DDT situation, but can Oba hang on until the Rumble and maybe have a moment or a spot with someone like a Brock Lesnar that gets him over? Because the guy that's been used in the last 2 years to help big men get established on the main roster has been Braun Strowman. Did a hell of a job with Jacob Fatu and others before. He's obviously now gone. There was rumours that he was basically in a kind of call-off contract for as and when they needed him for big men. But if you're going to part Brock Lesnar off TV, surely it's because Brock can eliminate Oba for the Rumble and set up a future match, but they need to have a good moment if it was that type of story. So DDT's first. How would you bring him to the main roster and make him look strong?
Yes, okay. DDT's they're not a finishing move anymore. Wrestling is it's gone so far away from DDTs that you just can't be a finishing move. The reason I say that is that if you want me to believe that guys can kick out of multiple RKOs or multiple pile drivers, then multiple DDTs just isn't a thing. Don't get me wrong, if you want to finish the match with a DDT and you DDT him onto a title, or you DDT him through a table, or you DDT him onto a chair or steel steps or some such,
Concrete, the floor, or whatever.
Rip up the mat or something, like, it becomes more believable because it's not just a bog standard DDT. But I still don't like it. If it's a DDT, I'm still not into it. I do think if you're going to have a DDT as a finisher, it needs to stand out as a DDT. And I'm not saying that Ricky Saints didn't, like, because obviously used the ropes for the spin, but like obviously Dirty Deeds, Dean Ambrose was like a rocking DDT, and obviously Future Shock with Drew, whatever you know what I mean. But no, DDT for me should not end a match unless it's through some sort of calamity onto some form of weapon. But even then, I still don't like it.
Or a lifting DDT where you're impaling them, or just something that adds.
Yeah.
Aye, I'm with you. They did go through a phase sort of 6-7 years ago, maybe up to 10 years ago.
They did try and make it a finisher again.
They did. I took it a minute,
but then nobody really believed it. So, now, Oba, I have been thinking about this in the build-up to his match with 36-year-old developmental talent, Ricky, who is good. I'm not bashing the guy. I don't know if he'll ever be main roster good, but he could carry NXT till he retires. He is good. I've been thinking about Oba because Oba's the next guy to get the push. We've been talking about his next guy to come up, and how do you book him, and what's the best way to book him. I think Brock Lesnar's the wrong way to book him, because ultimately
Brock wins,
and that's what sickens me about it, right? But I also don't believe Brock's the guy to carry that match with Oba. I don't think Brock can. Know that Brock can't hang with Oba, right? Because he's going to be in the ring with like Oba's not just a big guy like Braun Strowman and stuff. Oba can wrestle. Let's put him against the other. Well. Let's put him against the other big guy that can wrestle. The other guy that can cut a hell of a promo. The Royal Rumble's the perfect place. Oba eliminates Gunther. That's where you bring him in on the main roster and you cook up a fucking storm. Don't get me wrong, it'll end up being Rusev, or it'll end up being fucking Sheamus or something like that, because that's the way we do things nowadays. But just give me Gunther. If we're serious about making this guy a main event talent in the main roster, it's got to be Gunther, in my opinion.
Don't hate it. I think it's...
Because we know Gunther's not going to be in the main event at WrestleMania. Neither main event, he's not going to be there.
Aye.
So, but he needs to be on the card. He needs to be in a meaningful spot.
It's a good pick, because Oba, as we've discussed already in the last few minutes, it's not just the in-ring work. Like, it's obvious the in-ring work, because NXT's an hour show and that is really wrestling focused, but there is more to him than that. And whoever his dance partner is for his first big feud needs to be able to go in and out, and obviously just Gunther can do both better than pretty much 95% of the roster. So there's loads of ways you can go. I think Oba versus Brock's potentially a world title match in a few years, because they both can go in the ring. But you're right. You're right. That might be better down the line.
Minnesota SummerSlam. Do you know what I mean? Because that's obviously where Brock's apparently having his strong song, and you can put the big guy over, go out in your back to the next big man. You know what I mean?
Aye, and just to address I did see some AEW stands pointing out that Ricky Saints was a 36-year-old developmental talent. I would just point out that the top guys in their roster peaked in developmental. The other place.
I know it's seriousness, but
Aye. Fuck Dave Meltzer, he's made up numbers.
Absolutely.
Before we jump into Raw, guys, for anybody that is listening for the first time, watching the first time, we also, after these episodes, record our Saturday Squash, which goes out at 10 o'clock or Saturday morning UK time. It is usually some sort of nostalgia look back, a top 3, a top 5. Last week we did our Mount Rushmore of NXT superstars, and then we brought in Dazzy's brother Adam. So with 4 of us, we all picked our top 4. Unanimous conclusion. Other weeks we go head to head. We talk about our favourite WWE Championship belts, our favourite wrestlers, anything else with fantasy book ahead. Tonight we're recording our greatest and most favourite entrance music of all time.
I'm so gassed for tonight's.
I know. I feel as though it could be longer than a half an hour squash episode. So if you're into not just the weekly storytelling, but the nostalgia, check out our TikTok, and also Saturday morning, 10 o'clock UK time, squash drops in all the usual places.
This could be an Iron Man match this week.
Aye. Monday night or Raw. Let's start with arguably a bit of a surprise that we've got Rhea going to Australia in a non-title match. However, I think they've done a very, very good job of giving her a really important story that doesn't involve the title. I'm calling it early. It's going to be one of the 3 best matches on the card, and even then, I'm only really giving AJ Styles, John Cena up in the top 3 because it's AJ Styles and John Cena. I'm looking forward to this. I just think you've got 3 of the 4 best women wrestlers in the world, and also Kairi Sane, who's got a nice elbow drop. The only issue I've got with this is, see, after Australia, and I'm happy for either one of these to pipe in, after Australia, at what point does Rhea Ripley have to go after a world title again? Because they are head and shoulders above anybody else in Raw, aren't they, at the moment?
I think it will be interesting, because I think what's probably going to end up happening is that match then fuels Io to go after probably Asuka, is what you think is the next logical feud from that. Rhea's going to come out and be fine. Does not really matter how that match goes. That's the perfect time to pop her on SmackDown, because you don't even necessarily need to do the whole shake-up. Just move her over. And that's just the perfect natural way to do it. I'm in full agreement with you, though. I really like that they didn't decide to try and find a way of shoehorning her into the main event of that show. Probably because that's going to elevate somewhere in the middle third of it. It's just going to make that be an absolute banger. I actually really,
I'll open the show.
Really liked what they've been doing with this feud, and they listened to me. They actually took, again, thus proving that H listens to this. They've done a backstage promo, mostly in Japanese, and put it in subtitles. I'm like, perfect. I will fully understand what's going on. And I loved it because I could finally get the emotion of what some of the words were saying, that I don't mind it if they're going to use their native languages. Just let me know what's going on. And no, perfect. Just give me more of that. And the mist is great. Who doesn't love that? It's just so corny, but it's fantastic.
Tajiri's been robbed. That's now a main event move. Tajiri has been absolutely robbed. They used to do it in guys like Spike Dudley. I feel so bad for the guy.
It's a throwback in itself.
It's also the single best thing about this whole story is that Io Sky is appearing every week and actually involved, not just backstage segments. She is, say it again, probably the best wrestler this year in the WWE. She is, and has been fucking unbelievable.
You are going to struggle to dethrone her between now and the end of the year.
I mean, we even said that WrestlePalooza, it was arguably it was match of the night, and it's probably not even the top 5 matches this year. And that's not a knock on the match. That's just how the level she's operating at. So it's good to see they've done a cracking job. Not difficult way. You should say the Io Asuka feud's there, but Rhea and Io are world champions. That's who they are. So, be interested to see if this goes more than one pay-per-view. PLE, I doubt it, but I'm with Daz. I think it'll open the show. I think if Rhea's not closing it, she opens it.
Yeah.
Daz, I'll come to you for the next match because you alluded to it earlier when we're talking about the whole character development thing. Was Dom versus Rusev. The story does look like it'll go a few weeks. There's rumours that they're going to do Cena versus Dom. May or may not, but I'm just watching this and I'm going, see when they pull the trigger on this face turn, Dom's going to be the biggest star in the company, and it's not even going to be close.
And that's why they're waiting. Good. That's why they're waiting till John retires, because Dom will steal the spotlight from the final matches of his tour, because Dom is that guy.
I also have a large Dom Mysterio card collection that I'm hoping goes to the fucking moon.
I will go to the moon. He will be.
Safe investment, that one.
Everybody keeps going about how Braun Breaker and these guys like Melo and Braun Breaker and that are going to carry this company. Dom is the fucking stick-on, in my opinion, too. And it's not just me that's saying it. Sports Illustrated are saying it. No, I'm not looking. No, guys like Randy Orton and all that, they cannot be wrong when they look at talent and say that John Cena saying that the next big thing is Dom Mysterio. I'm intrigued by this, right? And I love how we're building Dom, because you're going to need to stick with me on the wording in this. That's the first time in a long time Dom has won clean. Now, I don't mean that it was a low blow for the finish. No outside interference.
Yeah.
Dom won that match on his own. Yes, he used a bit of a dirty trick. We are building him to be Eddie Guerrero, and I am fucking here for it.
And that's one step towards this inevitable face turn rocket.
Yeah.
Rocket to the
But
win.
what I also liked about it, right, because it had an element of comedy in the match as well with the title spot, but it tells the story of Dom doing everything he can to win this match himself and not need the Judgment Day or Los Americanos, as we're now calling them. So, yeah, really, really happy with how that match played out. You know, my thoughts on Rusev, I think the guy's duller than a cloudy day. But it's the right kind of person. I think if we're trying to build it, Dom should be squashed, but he's going to build himself up to be a credible champion to the point where when he does go out on his back with the IC title and hand it over to somebody else, it doesn't hurt him. And that's the point we're getting to. And yeah, I loved everything about the Dom and Rusev match, apart from Rusev, to be honest.
The Dom versus Rusev is so important though for Dom's growth because it's a different type of match. Like if you look at who was in the IC title match at Mania, it was very much top rope high flyers. You had Penta, you had Finn Balor, and whatever else involved, and obviously Brock Breaker was there. But it was a different type
wrestle
of match.
The big guys as well.
It needs to be able to wrestle the big guys. That it's less of a spot fest and more of the technical stuff. And Dom, with his background with all that stuff, will be able to do it no problem. But I just every week when I see Dom's in the card, I just want to watch.
We're going to get the treat of the century when Dom and Penta lace up together in a one-on-one. I don't quite know which title it's going to be for it. I don't know if it's going to be IC. I don't know if he wants triple. I don't know what one Penta wants. Similar to what Ross was saying. I don't speak Spanish.
I think it could be Triple A, but
it has to be Triple A, surely.
I think so. I'm just the next two segments. I'm just going to go back and forward here, but either of you can jump in on these. I'm just going to quickly bring them up, not waste too much time. But I've already slightly soured on this Bayley storyline, if anything, just because really? I feel like it's just dragged on too long. Like the seeds were planted at Mania, and like it's do something.
I think we are now doing something though.
I know.
Yeah, I like it.
You're just a whiny IWC avatar. That's exactly what you are.
It's like a stick. Just do something. No, it intrigues me, but you know what it is? Just come out to the hugger music just once and then I'll be happy.
The payoff's coming. The payoff's coming. When Hard and Lyra finally break down and wrestle, it will be great.
I think that if they do use the hugger music, that's the night where you know that's fully happening.
The proper turn. Aye.
I just want to see like
something. I'm all for it.
Wacky, inflatable arm flailing tube men.
We were promised Paramore music at one point as well, so I'm interested to see how they fold all that in.
That's actually a fair point. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but what kind of Paramore are we getting? Are we getting like good Paramore or this now pop punk pish? What are we getting?
Well, I mean, Paramore, if we're going to be technical, they were always pop punk. But
but I said pop punk.
I'll push my glasses up as I say that.
I said pash.
There's pop punk pash. They're different genres.
This guy gets it.
And the next bit I want to just quickly gloss over and move on is they gave LA Knight a free win, because if they're going to keep having them in main events, he has to occasionally win a wrestling match. However, beating Kofi does mean shit all these days. The guy hasn't won a match for at least 6 months. And
has he actually won a singles match since he dropped the title?
Nah, I think the only match he's won was the tag match the other week with the two of them and Grayson Waller against Penta and somebody. I don't know.
That's mad. That is crazy though.
So they had to give LA Knight a win because we've kept saying like you can't have the guy feuding with Seth Rollins and losing every week, but it didn't really mean anything. It's like there's only ever one win in that match, which takes me on to my next point. We've already alluded to it. Cody versus Seth. The build-up's going to be epic. The issue obviously is that we know it's a one-off and there's nothing going to come after it, which means that the build-up is the build-up for one match. It's not a feud, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's just that's what's happening, whether we like it or not. And without diving into predictions, but surely this has to go, can only go one way.
You can't
Surely we're not.
Cody Rhodes is in the match. What are you talking about?
He's won fucking. He just has
So
to
why
not
would
win
they stop him?
something.
Why would they stop him now?
He's
Do
already
you
won
really
after,
do you really think that of all the things Cody's won in the last calendar year, they're going to go, do you know what? Actually, another crown jewel ring is where we draw the line here.
Probably in some sort of weird screwy finish, purely because of the fact that Seth Rollins is addressing it quite clearly that he needs to win and he wants to win by any means necessary. The bit that makes it kind of confusing for me is that it was announced a few hours ago that on SmackDown it's Cody and RKO versus B&B Security on Friday, and I'm kind of like, how does that play into all of this? That's the bit that I'm also a little bit
basically where I'm going is that
in.
Randy, the outcome of this match has to feed what comes next, because there's nothing between these two next, and it's the same for the woman. And I think that's why Tiffy will go over, because Tiffy needs it more than Steph does right now. So it's got to feed that Tiffany's still actually a world champion. Whereas I feel like this has to feed us for what comes next for one of these champions. That champion has to be Cody Rhodes, because Seth's not short of nonsense on Raw. He's got the Usos and he's got LA Knight and he's got his hands full over there. All Cody really has is Drew, and the way that they beat Drew, which we won't go over again for the sake of time. Drew's not going to be the guy. I would really like to think that we close the show on Friday night with some sort of Randy Orton eyeing up Cody Rhodes in the background, or eyeing up the title. No, I don't think they wouldn't pull the trigger on the turn on the Friday night, but I think we'll get the wee tease where he's like staring at the title, or
somebody pointed out actually though after SmackDown that Randy Orton's been selling the title for something like 19 months now.
No, yeah, but I don't mean like
he's been
really thinking about it.
I don't mean like holding the title and then putting it back on top of the guy. I'm talking about like he's in the ring with Cody at the end, and they've got their hands raised, and he's like, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Arguably, it's the first sign of CTE that he's just seen the shiny thing and not realising what it is, despite the fact he's won it 14 times.
I'm not a CTE guy, so...
Honestly, man, that's the greatest quote of my life. I'm not a big CTE guy. Well, that explains everything, doesn't
it?
Yeah. Whatever happens in the women's side of it feels like a one-off. The men's side feels like a one-off, but it has to fuel at least somebody's story. You've just ruined my day by telling me that we're getting a Raw main event on SmackDown this week.
How? What makes you think that we had loads of time for it in SmackDown this week? What's the problem?
I just don't want a B&B tag match every fucking day of my life.
No, you're not wrong.
So we takes us on to the Raw main event, which was the same main event we have every week, but
which we're getting on SmackDown.
As the title of this podcast and as my intro and as something else probably say, many times can Roman Reigns return, because it feels as though this is about the fifth return since Mania, never mind any returns before Mania this year.
Is he back, or is he going to be back to go away to come back? Are we getting a sixth return?
No, he's back for at least the next 3 weeks.
Right. So then he will disappear and then he'll return again before Christmas.
I don't know where that is on the scale of back to back, but he's...
Right.
I can tell you what that means. He's kind of back, and then he'll be away, but then he'll also be kind of back for Survivor Series, but then he'll be away again and then back for the Rumble. Yeah.
Right, but remember, to be fair, in the build-up to SummerSlam, he came back on the Monday, and the following Monday also came back. Despite the fact I never missed the show, he just had 2 interferences.
He came back with a moustache on.
Aye.
But we did some pointing though. We were pointing upwards, so that was interesting.
I love the guy, and the product's better for him than being involved, and it appears that they're going to go down the route of some sort of 6-man tag match at Crown Jewel, which I don't know who the 6-man will be on the B&B side, but
Paul Heyman. do you know like that we could go back and forward on this for ages, and we won't, because we've got a prediction show, and I don't want 6-man tag. I want Jimmy and Roman, because Jay's went fucking scatty somewhere. Which I do have a question for you. Are we building Jimmy Uso for a push?
Looks like it. That's what
I'm getting a Jimmy Uso vibe off of this.
I was going to say that this feels like Roman's job is to take both these guys up.
Yeah, I feel like we're building Jimmy for a push. I don't think he'll win a title, but we're building him to get, because he never got it. Jay obviously got it. Jimmy's never ever been put over as a singles guy, so I'm intrigued by this. It's given it a wee bit a new life for me, I think, because I'm fucking sick of the Usos.
But Triple H can't book outside the bloodline. That's never going away, is it?
Not wrong.
Allegations are never going away.
He's never beaten the allegations.
There's too many. I'm going to say it.
Careful.
Crown Jewel's feeling just a little bit like a glorified house show. The two champions against each other and a whole lot of tag matches is a bit.
It's a Saudi show in Australia. That's exactly what it is.
That's
exactly what it's been built.
It's a
just
Saudi
missing Goldberg or
from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Saudi shows are different than Saudi shows, actual shows, but it does scream.
Aye, the original Saudi shows, yeah.
Aye, that's what it feels like to me. And I bet it'll be a cracking event, and sometimes they're better because you just have good wrestling matches, but
it's the kind of thing with Saturday night main events, isn't it? Nobody expects anything, so sometimes you actually get decent wrestling.
But it is the same thing I worried about, was just this whole thing of from WrestlePalooza, essentially because of WrestlePalooza from SummerSlam till the end of the year, nothing's really going to happen. And that's quite a long time for nothing to happen. Especially because
I'm okay with it if we get the War Games match we're all hoping we're going to get. Like
so last segment, closing segment, closing question before we bring this to the end. Should this be the year? Is this the year that they pull the trigger into a women's War Games?
I wouldn't hate it. You might as well, because it's a good way of shaking things up.
They've got a really good heels. They've got really good faces. They've just done a ridiculous cage match on NXT at the weekend.
We've had women's War Games before. It's not going to be a groundbreaking thing.
Did we? NXT?
Yeah, or multiple NXTs. Io Sky did a moonsault off the top of the cage.
She did, aye.
I'm sure we had a couple. We also had the Shayna Baszler where Dakota Kai turned on our team as well. We've had loads.
Aye, so we have. I just
fucking
forgot every single one.
Old man yells at cloud.
I'll cut that bit for the podcast.
I bet you will.
Was it Rhea, Bianca Belair, Naomi,
Bayley? We've had loads of them.
Judgment Day, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Candice
what was that you were saying about CTE?
Oh mate, my brain's mush. I've been saying that for the last 2 weeks.
I think, genuinely, I'm not kidding. I think there's been about 4 or 5.
Aye, there has. Mm-hmm. I just don't remember them because they always feel
every year they did it in NXT. I think there's been a women's one, apart from maybe the first year.
Because
it was UE and Authors of Pain or Sanity or whoever it was first.
Maybe it's just because in my head the feels have always been thrown together, whereas I feel as though this time there's more of a story to be told with it rather than just being a match.
It's always been the 2 main eventers and they just build a team. Whereas now it's like all the main eventers can justifiably wrestle each other.
Aye, I think that's why it was in my head, because I feel like you're right, because I remember Rhea Ripley winning with the riptide from the rope through the table, but that whole match was just about showing Rhea Ripley to the main roster, the first one. And it was
also SmackDown don't have a team, so we're not doing it. I am not watching 5 of those SmackDown women in that match. That's not.
Oh no, I would build the team and it would be Team Becky Lynch versus Team AJ Lee. How would that? And just let them build their teams. That's the story I would run with.
Does Becky have 4 friends?
No, but AJ Lee would have 4 friends who the enemy of the enemy is my friend type situation.
Yeah. Do you want to re-record your closing remark? Or?
No, I'm fine, mate. I take myself. I don't mind. Anything from anyone before we wrap up and go and talk about music for
please, if there's a fucking God, please just make SmackDown like okay this week.
And I would guess one thing I could bring up is that if you are listening at home or watching at home and you're thinking, wow, these guys are absolutely fantastic, and you're not our partners and mothers, and you're like, I would like to support these guys, there's a few different ways that you can do that. You know, you can tell a friend if you've got anyone that you know who likes wrestling, likes podcasts, you know, give us a shout out to them. They might enjoy us and they might hate us. That's fine too. But, you know, at least you tried. If you're listening on Buzzsprout, via Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you know, press subscribe or whatever the terminology is on your favourite podcatcher. Give us a 5-star rating. If you're on YouTube, press sub, press like, leave us some comments. Go in the Buzzsprout link. Send us your messages about what you think, things you'd like us to speak about. and no doubt known us because, well, we do this far too often. We will happily get to it and just sit here and chat the shit about more things wrestling.
And that was episode 36 of the Golden Shovel Wrestling Podcast. We've got a squash to record. Take it easy, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.